In the months leading up to the invasion of Normandy in June 1944, the New Forest saw a huge influx of troops from various nations. Among these were troops from Canada. The Canadian 3rd Infantry were one of the battalions who arrived in the area in early 1944. Their chaplain looked around for somewhere to hold religious services for the men and found the site that we're walking towards here. This is Mogshade Hill, a scenic place with views over the hills and nearby Highland water. The chaplain bolted together 2 pine logs to make a cross, erecting it next to a fence, and placed an altar covered in the Canadian flag in front of it. Men stood down the slope facing the altar, and as it has a sharp drop behind it, it gave them an inspiring outlook over the forest. The site was used for services from April 1944 until they left for the D-Day invasion in June. The Canadians landed at Beaulieu Beach in the first hours of the assault and suffered many casualties. The site is now surrounded by a wooden fence. The original wooden cross has been replaced by a cross made from New Forest oak with a plaque to act as a memorial to the Canadian soldiers who had worshipped here. The Canadian War Memorial can be found on the A31 leading from Emery down. The What 3 Words location is undercuts.hypocrite.wishing. In the first video in this series we visited Ashley Walk, which was used as a bombing range during World War II. We saw one of the observation huts and the huge concrete directional arrow, both of which are still there today. For our second wartime reminder in this video, we're returning to Ashley Walk. After the war, most visible signs of wartime activity here were removed, including all of the targets. One target still remains though, and it's that large hump in front of us. This mound covered a large reinforced concrete structure which was used as a target to test new weapons. The large reinforced concrete structure was built around 1942 and measured 79 feet by 70 feet and was 12 feet high. After the war, several attempts were made to demolish it, but in the end it was decided that it would be easier to cover it over with earth, which is what we can see today. This target was known as the Ministry of Home Security target. It's also known as a sub-pens. This name arose during the testing of the Grand Slam bomb, when those involved in the trials were told that the target was built to replicate the German submarine pens built along the French coast. In fact, the target was built to test various concrete mixes, steel reinforcement, and to test potential public air raid shelter designs. This wartime image shows the concrete sub-pen target at the top, surrounded by numerous bomb craters, and this is the target before it was covered up. If we look closely today, we can see that erosion over the intervening years has exposed some of this concrete. Nearby we have a bonus wartime reminder. What looks like a pond is in fact one of the bomb craters that hasn't been filled in. This was made by a Tallboy Bomb. This was developed by the team led by Barnes Wallace, who also invented the bouncing bomb, which was also tested here. The Tallboy weighed 5,500 kilograms. If you'd like to visit the sub-pens and the crater yourself, you'll find them off of the path across the Ashley Walk Valley. The What 3 Words location is fishery.pose.situates. During World War II, 12 airfields were established in the New Forest area. Our third wartime reminder is this memorial to those airfields, and it stands on the western boundary of the wartime airfield of Holmesley South. A striking Dakota propeller is mounted on the front of the large broad wall, and the names of the airfield sites are inscribed on 12 plaques. A map shows the positions of the airfields across the forest and the surrounding area. The memorial was raised by the Friends of the New Forest Airfields and is dedicated to the servicemen and women who served in the New Forest during the Second World War. The What Three Words location is regal.itself.hurls. If you travel along the road from Beaulieu to Lymington, you'd be forgiven for thinking that nothing much happens across the heathland. If you view the area from above though, a different view appears. This Google Earth view shows what remains of Beaulieu Airfield. This is one of the World War II airfields commemorated on the Airfields Memorial and is our fourth wartime reminder. This is how it looked when it was being built in 1942. RAF Beaulieu was a Class A airfield, built and opened in 1942. It was used by the RAF before it was handed over to the US Air Force in 1944. The airfield was used by both fighter and bomber squadrons. Today we can still see evidence of the airfield. This tarmac area is the end of one of the runways and is used by a model aircraft club. If we walk along the runway, we'll see that most of it has been returned to its natural state. The gorse bushes haven't really taken over along the original runways, which is why we can still see the outline from the air. A track runs around the perimeter of the airfield, and on the opposite side we can see evidence of the buildings that stood here. If you look hard enough in this area, you can find the letters BL made of concrete and set into the ground. This is located in front of where the airfield control tower once stood. BL was the Airfield Pundit Code. All the airfields had one, much like a postcode. It helped airborne aircraft identify the airfield. The What Three Words location of the BL letters is exactly.commuted.goggle. Our fifth wartime reminder is at Lepe Beach, between Lymington and the Solent. I've made a separate video on Lepe, and there should be a link to this at the top of the page and in the text below. Lepe Beach was a D-Day embarkation point for troops and vehicles, but it was much more than that. If we walk eastwards along the beach, we'll see a concrete track. This was the access road to the embarkation area. These structures are called dolphins. They form part of the pier, which was used to load ships departing for Normandy. There's an information board here, which gives us a lot of information on what went on here during World War II. On the beach we can see a number of concrete squares. These were laid across the beach to stop the tanks and other vehicles sinking in the sand whilst they were loaded onto the landing craft. Lepe was also one of the sites used to manufacture parts of the Mulberry harbours. Here at Lepe, 6 of the hollow concrete supporting sections for the Mulberry harbours were built in early 1944. These were known as caissons. These are the concrete slipways where the caissons were launched into the sea. Lepe Beach is also the site of the first oil pipeline from England over to France after D-Day. For a more in-depth look at Lepe during World War II, have a look at the separate video. So there's 5 more places in the New Forest where we can see reminders of World War II and the part that the forest played in it. You'll see a link to the first video in this series at the end of this video and in the text below. Please give us a like and subscribe to our channel to see more videos like this and more. Thanks very much for watching.